And we're back.
We are indeed. This is Dream Idiots. My name is Morris, and that's Brian. Brian, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are things up there?
Relatively cool today. Beautiful, beautiful summer day in Colorado.
Excellent. Exciting news coming up next week. We have another guest coming on next week, so listeners have
Ooh,
that to look forward to.
guest
The
genius.
a guest idiot, guest genius rather. But welcome to Dream Idiots, and thanks for listening again, folks. Please, as always, if you can, give us a review, shoot us 5 stars, check out dreamidiots.com, check us out on the socials. We're on everything. Had a nice little spike in viewership on YouTube for last
Oh,
week's
cool.
episode, which again, I don't have any idea how any of that shit works. Don't really care, but it's always interesting to see a spike of not just listeners, viewers as well, who want to watch middle-aged men in glasses
Hmm.
talk to each other. But anyway, if that's your jam, by all means, you're welcome. So
If that's your jam, we're here for you. Yeah, each week Brian and I tell each other stories. We take turns doing it, and we usually have a good time too. Sometimes they're from history, sometimes they're from current events, sometimes they're from popular culture, sometimes they're from our personal history, sometimes they're just stuff we've made up. You had an announcement, Brian, before we got started today?
just one quick thing. A while ago, probably right after the last election, I did a quick story about just surviving Trump. I was kind of circling back to that again. I find that I'm endlessly looking for ways to survive the unmitigated nightmare that we find ourselves in right now. And so, yeah, if you're listening to this and if you have a tactic or a lifestyle hack or advice or something, I'm going to circle back to that and give more advice because we're only 18 months into this nightmare part two, and wanted to maybe offer up some more suggestions in terms of what people can do to just manage their stress and mental health while we're in this universe. So yeah, if you want to drop us a line, the email address is just dreamediotspodcast@gmail, or just use the form on our website. That'd be great. And
Yeah,
we'll,
one of the things I've done lately is I really connected with my neighbors who are like-minded.
mhm,
And just talking with them helps a lot, and working with them helps a lot. And then get involved. We hosted a fundraiser slash little get together for someone we know that we would like a lot, who's running for district commissioner.
right.
And doing things like that can really help make connections and get you with people who can you can not only discuss with this, but you can actively do things to make your community better. Because we're gonna have to start building from the ground up, I think.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yes, they are tearing it down, and it'll be left to us to reassemble. So yeah. So whatever ideas you have would be appreciated, and we'll share it either on the podcast or in written form or something. But it's just worth trying to get that stuff out there.
Yeah. Also follow up, like if you've got a neighbor who's antithetical to your beliefs, look at the campaign signs and look up the people they're supporting, and tell other people in the neighborhood why they're bad. We've got a guy running here for AG who's he was Tina Peters' defense attorney down in Colorado Springs.
Mm.
We don't want him as AG. We just don't want him. And there's this, and he's a pastor, I think. And then there's a guy running for governor here, and they're both pastors from Colorado Springs, which you know,
Right.
um,
Enough said. Right.
yeah,
That makes
that's
it
a
makes it crystal clear. Here they
bit
are.
iffy. Yeah. Yep. All right, Brian. It is the I think the last one for you for a while to lead the proceedings. So away we go. Whenever you're ready.
All right. So we are going back to some true crime this week yet again, thanks to Katie Totman over with the Malice and Mocktails podcast, who actually
Hmm.
helped me out with doing some of the research on this bad boy. So here we go. August 18th, 1986, in San Antonio. It's just past 7:15 p.m. on Pinecrest Drive, a little residential street on the city's northeast side. A yellow Chevy Chevette, sweet ride, is idling against the curb. And Pinecrest, actually, where this happened is steps from where I currently live, or from where I'm currently recording this
Okay.
this episode. A woman is out for a walk, and she notices two men having a conversation, sitting in the front seat of that Chevette. The
Sweet, sweet
car,
ride.
the car pulls away as she clears it and slowly proceeds down the street. Then, five shots in rapid succession. She turns to face the car. One man steps out of the car and yells at her to call the police. So let's talk about these two men. First, a guy named Stephen Smith, not the wide receiver from the Carolina Panthers in the 90s. Born in San Antonio in 1955, Smith grew up locally. He attended Alamo Heights High School. By all accounts, he was a quiet, intensely reserved kid, didn't make waves, but he had an obsession. He was big into firearms. He was an expert marksman from a young age, spent hours studying ballistics and collected weapons. He had a brief, somewhat unimpressive stint in college. I think it was one semester at A&M and then maybe a year or so at Texas Tech. But then he found his calling in 1975 when he enlisted in the U.S. Army. He served as an MP patrolman, stationed everywhere from Fort Dix. I forget where Fort Dix is located.
It's in Jersey, isn't it?
Yeah, it's somewhere in the Northeast, and then spent some time in West Germany. He learned tactics, he learned how to police, and he learned how to operate under extreme tactical pressure. When he returned home to San Antonio, the transition to civilian law enforcement life was really easy. He joined the San Antonio Police Department on August 20th, 1979. On paper, Smith seems like an asset. He's good at catching criminals. But he is aggressive, he's relentless, and he always seemed to be in the thick of where the action was. Behind closed doors, fellow officers would later describe his, quote, cold, unblinking eyes. He also had
Jesus.
a bit of a dangerous ideology. He grew up kind of deeply cynical. He hated crime, but he hated the justice system that he viewed as a revolving door. He couldn't stand seeing car thieves, burglars, etc., predators getting arrested and then being thrown back out on the street a week later, a month later, etc. So that's man number one. Man number two, enter Farrell Tucker.
Wow.
Tucker is 4 years older than Smith. A little bit more laid back. He absolutely shared Smith's obsession with firepower, and they got paired up as partners, and they mostly patrolled San Antonio's pretty rough south side. And they clicked instantly. They became drinking buddies, hunting buddies, and eventually they were just known across the department as being complete gun nuts. They weren't company men who followed regulations. These are street. This sounds like a stupid movie, right?
Hmm.
But you know they liked being cops, but they weren't necessarily big fans of the rules. As you may recall from the 70s and the 80s, growing up in San Antonio, crime in San Antonio was off the charts. I'm not sure how it compared to places like Chicago or New York, but it was pretty rough. It's not great to this day. I remember one time for a great number of years I lived in Austin after having grown up in San Antonio, and I recall being shocked that the number of murders in San Antonio for 1 year was 10 times that of the murders in Austin. It was like 250 in San Antonio versus 25 in Austin. So it's just sort
Jesus.
of insane what how San Antonio and Bexar County have gone through, and those problems really kind of persist to this day. I think they've gotten somewhat better, but still not great. By the early 1980s, we have some unsettling rumors circulating through San Antonio Police Department shifts. Bad things are happening when Stephen Smith is on patrol. Criminals, car prowlers, burglars, they're just turning up dead, or just beaten to a pulp. And Smith always seems to be the first one on the scene, or the sole witness to a quote unquote justifiable escalation of force.
I found
Um,
him this way. I found him like this. Fell down an elevator shaft.
Twice, right? So some things on the timeline here. December 28th, 1982, a man named Turnell Robert Folsom, who's known as a local car thief, had a lengthy rap sheet, is rifling through the back seat of a vehicle outside a South Side apartment complex. Suddenly, out of the shadows, a figure, without apparently without saying a word, just opens fire. Folsom is gunned down from this ambush, and dies right there in the parking lot of the apartment complex. The shooter vanishes into the night, but Internal Affairs opens up an investigation. They question Smith because the ballistics point directly to his caliber of weapon for his service revolver.
Does he use a
But
weird caliber or is it
I don't think
standard
so. No,
issue or okay?
I'm not sure. But there's not really enough evidence there to charge him, and Tucker's not with him at the time. He's the only person there. Smith stays on the job. February 16th, 1984, Smith responds to a call at South Park Mall, a
Oh, I
place.
remember South Park Mall. Yeah.
It's still there to this day in different, slightly different form. He corners a suspected burglar named Trinidad Castro. Smith claimed Castro pulled a pistol on him. Smith draws his service weapon and shoots Castro dead right there. At the time, the department again rules it a justifiable shooting, and it has what the cops call a quote clean administrative file unquote. On the
I'm
streets,
not
though,
going to
there
let anybody steal from Spencer's gifts.
uh, now, I mean, by the early 80s, there, at this point in 84, there is this legend now of a killer cop. And Smith's behavior
Wow.
is escalating, and it's not just shootings. March of '84, he's slapped with a 3-day suspension for hitting a handcuffed prisoner in the face. A year before that, a suspension for illegally transferring a prisoner. I'm not really sure what that means, but I mean, he is somewhat rogue, right? And Farrell Tucker is, a happy little partner in this. I mean, they'd have been great, just eager, ideal ICE
Hmm.
agents in 2026.
Yeah.
So the depth of their bond and their willingness to bend the truth becomes undeniable in an incident in 80 early I think this is early 86. Tucker and another officer named Richard Rodriguez were actually suspended for 30 days for just horse shitting a police report. Completely lying. They claimed that a sniper had shot Tucker in the leg, and this triggered a massive ground search involving 25 officers and an aerial search. I mean, so the helicopters out looking for the sniper, the shooter. About hours later, Tucker comes clean and admits, okay, there's not really any sniper. This was an accident. Rodriguez shot me by mistake using an unauthorized rifle, and then they lied to cover up their fuck
Okay.
up, and then Smith helped with the cover up. So it's part of this culture. It's a very common story to this day. Deception, a crazy over the top arsenal, and just an outright contempt for law enforcement and for really any authority. By 85, the walls are starting to close in. The local paper, the San Antonio Light, the now defunct San Antonio Light, my former employer, broke this story wide open. They publish a, a multi-part series of articles talking about all of these suspicions and all of these crimes apparently being perpetrated by someone on or multiple people on the San Antonio police force. And so this story is everywhere. I mean, I recall as a kid watching it because weirdly, I was starting at about age 8. I read the paper every day and I watched the local and national news every single day, starting in about third grade. I remember watching this on the news when I was a kid.
See, I don't, I was the same way, but I don't remember seeing this story on the news.
I remember this like crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's everywhere. It's being covered every day on KSAT 12 News. And so the spotlight's getting blinding. There's a lot of pressure. The Bexar County DA's office, Sam Millsap, I'm sure a name you probably
Hmm.
recall, in internal affairs, getting involved, and they're definitely ratcheting up the heat. They can't quite nail Smith for the ambush murders yet, but they happily did catch him on something else. On March 25th of 86, Smith is indicted on a charge of criminal brutality following the violent arrest of a shoplifting suspect. It's way more fun and easy to beat up someone when they're in handcuffs, of course. Again, ICE is showing this. ICE is showing this off every single day. So March of 86, Smith gets suspended indefinitely. His badge taken away, his service revolver's taken away, no uniform, and he's just sitting at home awaiting trial. For a man whose entire identity is wrapped up in being a cop, this is sort of psychological torture because now he has basically no identity. Uh,
Hmm.
he's becoming intensely paranoid. He didn't blame himself for anything, of course not, because they never do. He blamed the system. Mostly, he blamed three men: Deputy Police Chief Robert Hayek. I believe that's how you say it. It's Heuck. The Internal Affairs investigators and the DA Millsap. So that's when the terror tactics ratchet up and take a sort of coordinated, lethal shape. You have to understand the kind of the depths of Smith's rage. You have to look back at also at an incident from August 24th of 83, long before he suspended. The home of Deputy Chief Hayek had been, Hayek and his wife are in bed, and
Hmm.
someone just sprays the front of the house with bullets. They're laying there and
Holy shit.
but no one is hurt. But
I
no
wonder
one
where they
see.
lived.
I don't know.
I wonder where I wonder if they lived. I mean, where in the city they lived, because that, you
I don't
know,
know. Yeah,
can
not
you
sure.
play that off as being commonplace, or if it was a place like Hollywood Park or Alamo
Yeah,
Heights, or
probably, yeah, probably, reasonably safe area. You would think. No arrests are made. Later, a week or 10 days later, an unexploded firebomb is hurled into the same DP's garage, but it doesn't go
Jesus
off.
Christ.
So, but now it's clear that the department and the city now know that someone is targeting brass in law enforcement, but they don't know who. They can't prove who it is. So Smith now is sitting at home during his 86 suspension, and he is surrounded, although cops don't know this yet, by a massive illegal arsenal of military grade weapons and explosives in an apartment.
Hmm.
um, Smith, his mind just snaps. He starts to plot, and he's not just going to defend himself at his brutality trial. He decides he's going to wipe out all of the leadership for the SAPD, and he decides he needs his partner, his former partner, Farrell Tucker, to help him do it. So, according to state investigators and prosecutors, Smith starts reaching out to Tucker constantly. In 86, the only way to do that is, to drive by or to get on the old the old landline and call him up. And he's looking for names and schedules and addresses. He wants to know where these people are, when they're on duty, when they're off duty, where their spouses are. He's looking for information on all these people. He wants to coordinate the assassinations of the deputy chief and the DA. And so now Tucker is caught in a bit of a vice. He's a terrifically flawed human being and a flawed police officer, with his own lengthy record of being, a problem. But this is a different animal, right? It's one
Hmm.
thing. It's one thing to accidentally shoot someone who's breaking into a car. It's quite another thing to consider killing the DA. And so this is in his mind. This is treason. Either he really does object to it from an ethical standpoint, or it's just like this guy's going to take me down. One or the other. It may just be the latter. So leading up to the events, the night of the shooting on Pinecrest, midnight on Sunday, August 17th, Smith's mother-in-law calls Farrell Tucker asking for help after Smith and his wife Leah had a fight. Smith and his wife have been married for a year and a half, I believe. Leah is about 10 years his junior. Monday, August 18th, in the early hours, Tucker arrives at Smith's house, 147 Pinecrest in San Antonio, and talks to him and his wife, but talks to them separately. Tucker would say later that Leah told him that Smith is plotting to assassinate, DA Millsap. Police chief, this is unfortunate. The police chief's name at the time was Hoyak, Hoyack, and the assistant chief was Hoyak, Heuck. Very similar and confusing names. Still on Monday, Tucker contacts Hoyak and tells him about the death threats and asks, I need to meet with you right now. And they get together at a restaurant somewhere on the north side of San Antonio. That meeting lasts for about an hour and a half.
I hope it was a
And
JoJo's. Remember JoJo's? The big bubble out front? Yeah.
So someone else
The big bubble window. Yeah.
someone else mentioned JoJo's to me. That and JoJo's later became or previously was Po Folks, wasn't it? Was that the same location on Walsham?
Might have been.
Could
Yeah,
have
it
been,
was the same building. Yeah, you're right.
yeah.
Yeah, they tore it down. Yeah.
God, weird things that my old brain recalls.
Anyway, so they're eating lunch at JoJo's,
Having
and
yeah, they're having the Grand Slam at JoJo's, and so this is when Tucker is going to meet with Smith and try to get him to admit to planning these assassinations, right? And Hoyak is the one who suggests he wear a wire. So I'm not crystal clear what constituted what would have been a wire in 1986. I don't think were micro cassettes around by then. I'm not sure. They may have been.
yeah, I wouldn't know.
In my mind, this must have been a cassette recorder, which just seems awkward and clunky.
Hmm.
But anyway, he is apparently wearing a wire when he goes back to Pinecrest to see Smith. So the night of August 18th, and the yellow Chevette out on Pinecrest Drive. Smith has been suspended for 5 months. Around 7 p.m., Tucker gets to Smith's house, and Tucker gets into the passenger seat of Smith's Chevette. What happens inside the car is certainly a matter of life and death, but for decades it's been scrutinized by forensic experts. And there only are two witnesses to that conversation, and one is, as they say, DRT, dead right there. I don't think that Tucker is able to use whatever he has in the way of a recording device, because things go badly pretty much immediately. Uh, According to Tucker's statement to authorities later, the moment they start to pull away and drive down the residential street, Pinecrest, this property is at the corner of Pinecrest and Vanderheck. What happens, I believe, is Smith says the atmosphere turns lethal almost immediately. He looks at him with his cold, unblinking eyes, and Smith knows that things were getting bad. And right out of the gate, says to Tucker, "I have to kill you. You know too much. You're going to break." And he disarms him right, in the first few seconds in the car.
Jesus Christ.
Takes his service revolver away from him pretty much immediately. What I believe happens is he disarms him, puts that gun next to him to his left under the seat, puts that gun somewhere else, believing he has now disarmed Tucker completely. I believe that's when he starts to pull away.
Hmm.
He turns away because it's a T intersection right at that corner.
Yeah.
Turns away to turn, I believe. This is my inferring some details here. What Smith doesn't know about Tucker is that Tucker has a second weapon on him in his waistband. In addition to apparently a cassette recorder, Tucker is hiding a 357 Magnum revolver,
Holy shit.
which is heavy as shit, and those things are just gigantic. I don't know how you. I mean, this is August. It's not like you can say this is January in Green Bay. You're bulked up with all kinds of clothing.
It's the it's the it's the weapon my father carried for years, the 57 Magnum, and
Right, I,
it's a hand cannon. Yeah,
right.
it's
You
big.
take down a hippopotamus with this thing. So apparently, as Smith briefly turned away, turned to make the turn, to turn the car. Uh, Tucker, acting on instinct, reaches down, manages to extract the 357 without blowing his own balls off. Turns and just starts firing. Five shots in an instant, in 2 seconds, whatever, as fast as you can possibly do it. So five hollow point bullets go through Smith's head and upper torso, and he is dead in an instant. I mean,
DRT. Yeah.
he is DRT. So when this happens, Tucker leaps out, sees the woman who had been walking past. Police are quickly on the scene, and there's a massive investigation. They swarm the apartment, and they enter Smith's apartment to discover that it is a absolute fortress. A ton of unauthorized stolen firearms, 50,000 rounds of ammunition
Good God.
of various calibers. I mean, I don't even. How do you store? I mean, I can't even picture how massive that is. So tactical gear, military explosives, and all this stuff. The FBI steps in as well. They look at the fingerprints from the unexploded firebomb that had been thrown into the deputy chief's garage
Hmm.
previously, and compare them to Smith. Perfect match. So it's clear now that Smith was the one who threw this bomb at midnight into his garage. One of the most damning twists is they interview Smith's 24-year-old widow, Leah, and she tells investigators that she had spoken to Tucker before the shooting, as I mentioned, and she just drops a bombshell that just sends shivers down the spine of everyone involved. She actually admits that she had been present with Smith during some of his various vigilante excursions on nights when Tucker was off duty. So on those occasions where these criminals are being shot dead, Tucker's not with him, but his wife is with him. He just throws her in the car instead. Um,
So they
and,
just kill a guy and then go for ices or Slurpees at
right,
Seven
or
Eleven.
something, right? So she paints this picture of a man who is just obsessed with, his own style of justice or something, and confirms that he was responsible for a string of stabbings, sniper attacks, beatings, executions. So, so at first glance, you'd say, well, this is self-defense. This is a absolute open and shut case, right? This is
No.
slam dunk. And Tucker's a hero because this man is now dead. The forensic team, gets involved, and the medical examiner, state of Texas, they look at the entry wounds on Stephen Smith's body, and they don't really see a self defense shootout. It looks like an execution. The man's shot twice in the
Hmm.
side and or back of the head because he's turned his head, and it gets blown off his shoulders, basically. And so Millsap then makes a fairly stunning decision, considering he was targeted. They charge Tucker with first degree murder for Stephen Smith. So June of '87, just a year later, this case goes to trial. The prosecution's case is built entirely on ballistics and forensics. They argue that Tucker's self-defense story is complete horseshit, just like his old sniper story was. This guy is a lying pig,
Hmm.
and he's lying again now. He's trying to cover his ass because he knows he'll get sucked down in all this as well. And if Smith is dead, that's super convenient for him and his career probably. The prosecutor points to the entry wounds on Stephen Smith's body. The trajectory of the bullets, they argued, proves that Smith wasn't even looking at Tucker when the trigger was pulled. He's looking away, completely off guard. And the state's theory, Tucker didn't kill Smith because he was a hero protecting the department. This was, again, as I was just saying, this story is unraveling, and it's beneficial for him if Smith is is DEAD. The defense, however, has you know they have a case. I mean, they uh, they can portray this incredibly vivid, terrifying portrait of Stephen Smith. They bring a Texas Ranger named Jack O'Day Dean to testify because he'd been involved in investigating Smith's homicidal vigilantism. They show off the arsenal. They brought up the assassination plots against the DA and all the chiefs, and they basically say to the jury, "Put yourself in that yellow Chevette. You're trapped with a man you now know clearly is a serial killer in a uniform, and this man has just disarmed you, or so he or so he thinks, and he's just told you he's driving you off to kill you. Do you wait for him to look back at you before you shoot? Like, hey, look here, I'm aiming a gun at your face. Would you please turn this way? Or do you just pull the weapon and start firing until the gun's empty? The defense calls it a very open and shut non-case. This is ridiculous. Argue that the state was prosecuting a man for saving his own life from a complete monster.
Mhm.
And the case goes to the jury. Any prediction? Any guess?
I'm going to say not guilty, but I don't know.
Farrell Tucker's acquitted of all charges.
Mm.
Jury agreed that Smith's terrifying history and the immediate threat was justifiable, and Tucker stays on the force. He didn't retire from the
Oh
force
my
until
God.
didn't retire from the force until 2011.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so long, long, long career. This story was actually turned into a TV movie in 1991 called "Shoot First: A Cop's Vengeance," and that is the story of Stephen Smith and Farrell Tucker.
That's some crazy shit, but I don't remember any of this. I mean, that's just bonkers.
So I'm not completely certain, but this area where I live is called Sunset Ridge. I know 8 or 10 people who have lived here at various points of time over 40 years. I believe it's the case that my brother and his wife were actually living here when that happened.
Oh my God.
I think they were newly-ish married and had just moved back to San Antonio for having been out of state for a while. So it may be the case that they actually lived here when that happened. But anyway, a little fascinating tale from San Antonio crime history.
Well, because by that time we'd had the Battle of Flowers assassination or the Battle of Flowers
Yeah,
gunman, right?
that was 79. Yeah.
Uh-huh, yeah, I think. What else had we had by then? I thought of another one while you were, I can't think of what it is now, but about the same time we had that cop killed over off Walsham Road when he was dragged behind the truck.
Oh, I
That
know
was
that
a big
one.
story. Yeah. And then, of course, floating out there in the milieu was the vengeance cop movies, right? The Dirty Harrys, or even the civilian
Right.
Death Wish civilian.
Right.
I mean, it was like my mother's favorite genre was the cop revenge. I'm serious.
It was really the Dirty Harry, Charles Bronson, and anything in that
Yeah.
Mel Gibson. Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I told the story about how that was her preferred, like when she would get mad about things and drag me to the movies in the middle of the week. Is there a movie here about a cop or a citizen that takes justice into his own hands? Let's go see that. Really? Because the
Something with
cat from
Steven
outer
Seagal,
space is
maybe.
playing.
Right. So anyway,
Uh,
there you have it.
that's nutty, and I don't remember any of that. I mean, that is strange.
Yeah, it's a crazy story.
I kind of want to watch the movie now.
It is apparently out there a little bit. So it might be on one of the second tier streaming services somewhere, or maybe just on YouTube. I don't know.
Shoot first, a cop's vengeance. All right, I'm gonna check it out. And when did that come out? The 90s?
91. It was
Okay.
released a second time just as Vigilante Cop as well. So
Oh, okay.
it
So
might
look for both.
yeah, look for both. But apparently it's the same movie twice.
It's made for TV, so it's got to be good.
Mhm.
Um, I
With
try.
with many actors who went on to do nothing else.
I tracked down one I remember seeing as a kid, and I think it's called Trapped, but I might have talked about it on the show. But I remember seeing a TV movie where James Brolin
Hmm.
plays a guy who gets mugged in a department store, and he's left in the
You did mention
bathroom.
this.
Yeah, and when he awakens, he has to escape, and everything's locked, and he's trapped in there with three Dobermans that are guarding the. So he has to avoid the Dobermans and kind of like the floor is lava kind of thing as he's trying to get around away from these dogs. Um, yeah, I searched for that for years and finally found it. I was like, oh, and I watched it. I was like, yeah, not as good as my young brain
Just
remembers it. Yeah,
not the Academy Award winning performance you
no,
recall.
he was great, but I remember
Uh,
just, this is
not
not
good.
good.
Right.
But I had flashbacks to like the way the malls in the 70s looked, like the old was it the Copper Pan or the Copper Fryer they had it at North Star Mall. There's a tea room out there for a while that was really
Mm-hmm.
fancy and all that stuff. Anyway,
Yeah.
very cool true crime story, Brian, and one that's utterly new to me.
All right. There you have it.
And I do have, I wouldn't call this an associated word, but for my curse word of the week this week, I'm going to go back down to the Antipodes, Brian, because I was talking with my wife and I was trying to get her involved a little bit in this thing and just say, hey, what's a good curse word of the week I can use that's Australian? And she came up with one, and I was like, yeah, I'll save that one. And then we settled upon bogans or
Bogans.
bogan. It's
B O
Australia, New
G.
Zealand slang. Bogans or Bogans. Bogan or Bogans. Any idea?
Well, I'm either thinking bogey like golf, or but
Hmm.
it's a noun.
It's a noun. Yep.
No idea.
Bogans. It's Australian, New Zealand slang for a person or persons of limited capacity for civility or appropriate interaction in social situations. Bogans are crude and unsophisticated. Sometimes this is used as a self-deprecating form of humor. What do you expect from me? I'm a bogan.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I like it.
a similar word might be hick, redneck. Uh, I did hear
Right.
one Australian refer to it as their version of trailer trash. So,
Right. Hillbilly. Right.
not the nicest word to use, but it is one that I've heard before. And looking at it, it seemed appropriate for the show.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, just remember if you're sitting in a room and you can't spot the bogan, it's probably you. So
Right.
that's happened to me many, many times when it's
Mhm.
at a like at what I'm at a work party for my wife, and it's like, is this a good time to tell a fart joke?
Uh,
Probably not. Well, what
is
the
it,
hell?
wait,
I'll try it and see what happens. No.
is it ever not the right time though, really, when you think about it? It's always the right time.
In
Hey,
church.
and thanks for listening to Dream Bogans. Um, but
Yes. Yes. All right. Great show. Great true crime story, Brian. That is, and I thought I was versed in San Antonio stuff like that. It's always great to learn something new, even if it is horrible.
there you have it.
And it sounds like these two guys were, and I don't want to speculate too much on Tucker and Smith, but it sounds like they kind of egged each other on a little bit in their crazy behavior.
Yeah, very much so.
Wow. And that's also very much a 1970s story too, bleeding into the 1980s.
Mhm.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. I think that wraps it up. Next week, we've got a guest genius that Bryan has arranged to come and join us.
Hmm.
And I will hint that the story is also true crime for my story. So we're doing
Oh, two in a
two
row.
true crimers in a row. And we do not want to get a reputation as a true crime only podcast. But anyway,
We don't.
sometimes we do touch on true crime. Anything else?
Thanks for listening, folks. Again, check out dreamidiots.com. Download, order some merch if you want, and give us some story ideas. If you think of it, check out our contact us page, or just email us with your surviving Trump ideas in terms of how you're dealing with your sanity, mental health, just getting through life. Because we'll drop it in maybe as an extra Thursday short episode or something, because just we gotta have, at least for me anyway, speaking for myself, I need to have some more tools in the toolbox just to manage and cope. So if you can do that, great, and we appreciate you doing all those things for us in terms of listening and hanging in there with us.
Yep. Thank you so much. And, more than ever, be good to each other.